Hi, everybody. CohhCarnage here with a little bit of an update for you on the project I'm working on called Emberville. For those that haven't heard, Emberville is a game that I'm currently working on in the executive producer capacity. I'm also a studio co-owner. I'm working with the studio Cygnus Cross, who has been nothing short of amazing to work with, and it has been great working with them. To give you guys a little bit of a one-stop shop, I'm going to treat this update as if you have never heard of Emberville. So we'll start with a little bit of a very brief history on what's going on here and what you're looking at. So middle last year, CohhCarnage, streamer on twitch.tv for over 10 years, was contacted by a gentleman named Bryn, the owner of the studio Cygnus Cross. He let me know that he was a fan of the channel. He understood that I was low on time, and he had this project that he had been working on, and he wanted to bring me in to the project to help not only fundamentally create it, but also to bring it to completion. So he first gave me a demo that I played through, and this was mid last year. And I played the demo for just a few minutes before I knew that this was something very special, that I really liked what I saw, and that I immediately, when he started telling me like, yeah, we want you to help us take this lump of clay and mold it into something awesome, that's when I immediately knew like, okay, I think I'm going to want to be a part of this. So to start with today, what I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you the Emberville demo. This is gameplay of the demo. Now, before we begin, we have to talk about a few things. Now, what you are looking at right now is it's not even a pre-alpha. This was a demo put together by the team. And I do want to point out that this demo has undergone many updates since I played it. I saw a more basic version of this, but this demo is where the game kind of was starting, and they kind of knew where it was going, but that's kind of where they wanted to bring me in. So to start with, let's talk about Emberville. So Emberville is a action game with some heavy progression mechanics, a focus on combat, a focus on creativity and creative building, and a focus on progression and exploration. This is a game that is going to allow you many different ways to express your own way of playing, and also give you a lot of fun characters to interact with, some great long stories to go down, and also a giant procedurally generated world to explore. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. So, like I talked about before, like I said, this is the old demo. This is the one that kind of originally sold me on it. What I really like about this demo, everything is very sharp. Everything works well. The combat is not easy, which is going to be a big part of this game. The combat system is more developed. There's dodging, there's sprinting, there's different types of things. We got this little thing floating around, which has some kind of connotation we'll have to figure out later. It might be a little bit loud. Sorry about that. The sound is not very balanced. Again, this is the old demo. We have abilities, we have bars, we have skills, we have all sorts of fun things. We've got consumables with many different items and things that we can do and put on our hotbar and use. Almost everything is destructible, and a lot of it drops loot. In some cases, some cool loot. So the short of it is, I played this demo all the way through, and it's a pretty good demo. And the second I finished it, I immediately was like, okay, not only is this really cool, but, you know, I have a lot of feedback, a lot of ideas where it could go, a lot of different directions and ideas. And I kind of sat down with them and I said, you know, kind of went over everything. Oh man, these guys can explode. And one second. And after really talking with them and being like, you know, this is kind of what I would envision for the game. This is what I want to do. It became pretty clear that me and the studio were going to have a lot to talk about. So, yeah, you think I raised the volume? I might have. But that's kind of where we are. So, oh gosh. So this game is Emberville. Now, a couple quick things we'll talk about real quick here. This game is going to be a game where you always will have something to do, but you will always have a laundry list of things that you're working on. And that's kind of what we were looking at through this. So in playing the demo and running around, I could tell easily that the foundational mechanics were there. But like in the demo, for instance, if I walk over to a chest and use it, like I'll show you here in a second, You know, in this demo, we didn't even have like the full, they didn't even have the full inventory system. You know, I hit E on this, you can see it looted the old sword up there, which I can then equip and put on. You don't see the weapon when I strike right now, things like that. So that's kind of where we were at the beginning. So this is where we were. This was mid last year. Now, since then, I have joined up with the project. I have spent, God, at this point, probably hundreds of hours working with them. And obviously, from that time, we have made a whole lot of progress. So what has been happening between then? What is happening since I've been on the team, and what's been going from there? So what you're looking at right now, what the demo is the demo is a lot of the core mechanics of the game, but they're not in their final forms. And most importantly, it's just the beginning. The rest of kind of the game at this stage, when this demo was made, was still being sketched out. They kind of knew what they wanted to do, but not exactly what or how it was going to plug in or how it was going to work. And that's one of the reasons that they kind of wanted me to be there to help with all that. So what we're going to show you next is, now that you guys kind of have a good idea of where we were, we're going to kind of show you where we are, what we've been doing, and then on top of that, where we're going. So real quick, before we do that, let me run over here real quick. I'm going to see if I can get to this part of the dungeon. I'm going to be honest with you, though. This game is very tough. This game is very hard. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to get there for now. I could, of course, utilize all of this awesome loot that I'm picking up, which all works and functions and plugs in and everything. But all right, so here, let's see if I can actually get through this part. If I level up, I'll actually start doing more damage, which would be nice. But so one big thing that we want to focus on in this game is we like the little pixel art, and you know, we really dig the feel, almost the cozy vibe of it. But there's not a lot of games like this that have a fully developed combat system. So one of the things I'm helping design, for instance, is like how that whole thing's going to work. So in this game, there's a variety of different weapon types, and each weapon type has its own unique thing. But similar to older school games, everything you do in this game levels up. Kind of like Ultima Online or EverQuest. So as you're using swords, you're getting better at swords. As you're using shields, you're getting better at shields. As you're leveling them up, they're getting passively stronger. But more importantly, as these numbers level up, as your sword gets to 10, as your shield gets to 15, well, we have a reverse class system in the game as well. So what that means is as you're leveling up these stats, if you get enough stats in certain areas, so let's say you get 15 sword, 15, these are all just hypotheticals, 15 spear and 15 dagger. Well, in that point, you might have the requirements for a weapon master class. And as long as you've done the prereqs to have that, we'll talk about more of that later, then you'd be able to become a weapon master. And then as you play as a weapon master, you gain experience in that skill line, which then lets you get skills as a weapon master. As you gain weapon master skills, you're of course also gaining all the weapon skills and all the other stuff you're doing. And if you qualify or want to, you can then switch to other classes and inherit the skills of classes you've already done. So a hypothetical we've been talking about, for instance, is if we have a specific type of class that does healing but can use its own blood instead of mana if their mana runs out. Well, if you go into that class and you take that passive, you could pull that passive into a more magic-oriented class, and now your magic-oriented class has the passive where it can pull your blood instead of your mana when it runs out. So stuff like that. Now, these are systems you've seen before, but we don't see these systems normally in a game like this. And we'll talk more about that as we kind of go. So again, the concept here is we wanted to bring that much more advanced, customizable, kind of more in-depth combat system that you don't normally see in a game like this. We wanted to pull all that into here and then make it our own, which is one of the things we wanted to do. So come up here, we just looted a heal bloom and a medium thing here. We're gonna pop over here, and I'm gonna try to make my way through this area. Throw some daggers while we kind of move up here. Now this area I think is gonna quickly become other areas. So again, the idea here is eventually there's going to be lots of different things to interact with, different things. There's going to be tons of different loots, including rare loot. One thing we've talked about a lot is that we want it to be so every time you destroy anything or kill any enemy, that there's always a very small chance that something incredible can happen. So I really like that kind of feel of like the mirror feel from Path of Exile. So we're kind of going to be going for something with that for a lot of the world as well, which could be really fun. And of course, make those things like ultra rare in some cases. But yes, this demo is relatively fully featured. There's tons to see. Lots of different places to go, different bosses to do. I could sit here and play this for like an hour or two, clearing it all out, getting all the different things. But it is an incredibly cool demo. And we will do more of this demo later. But there's a reason that we're not going to be doing more of this exact demo later. And we're going to talk about that right now. So what I just showed you was, again, where Emberville came from, where it was. And when I joined up with the project, one thing that I realized is like, okay, we need to, like, it's time to start, like, let's start making the early access. Let's make this what it's going to be. So over the last half year, what Cygnus Cross and the devs have been doing is they have been basically they have been laying all of the groundwork and foundation to start creating the early access client that you will be downloading. We are rebuilding it all for the live, for you, essentially. So in other words, it's not going to, no veneer, in other words, everything working. So this, for instance, is what we call the Coliseum. And this is where we really start doing all the mechanical backend to make everything work properly. So this is where we start seeing the AI work. This is where we start seeing the animations come in. If you've noticed, one big change you already see. In the demo I was just playing, my character only moved left and right. Well, now he moves up, down, left, and right. So these are little changes, but at the same time, these are big changes in terms of how many animations are needed, what type of movement it's going to do, what type of movement controller is going to be used. So this is the kind of stuff that we're working on right now. Also big into this game, little thing we can talk about now is going to be customization. So you're going to be able to eventually build a wardrobe in the game. And of course, full customization system. You can, rock whatever you want to. You'll be able to, anytime you get a piece of gear, you'll then be able to put it on yourself. There'll be different colors as well, which you can then change. Also, we're going to be bringing something a little bit new to the transmog kind of system, where you're going to be able to set a wardrobe of only specific items and then leave the rest open. So if you want a red hood, red gloves, then you'll be able to do, a red hood and a red chest. Then you can lock those two, and then your cloak and pants and everything else will be whatever you pick up whenever you do. So maybe you want it so your cloak is always changing, but your head is always the same. Or maybe you found a really nice cloak that you want to keep, but everything else you want to change. So you're basically be able to do like specific transmog or full wardrobe transmog, or whatever you want to do, basically. We just want to give you options. We basically want you to be able to look exactly how you want to look whenever you want to. So we're going to be doing stuff like that. On top of that, this is when we started also introducing the new animation system and combo system. So you can see here, I have my punches now. Now my punch has little combos. So now I'm stringing into combos. Now, as I punch, I'm going to get better at hand-to-hand. Well, it's going to be the kind of thing where as my hand-to-hand gets higher, maybe all of a sudden I have a 4-hit combo. Maybe I have a 5-hit combo. Maybe my combos are now faster. So as all of your skills level up, your combat and everything will become, maybe there's like there is a hand-to-hand class that will then give you skills related to hand-to-hand. So all sorts of things there. On top of that, there's also like dash moves, there's combo break moves, all sorts of different things. So we're really going to, again, be trying to make the combat system as interesting as possible and be able to kind of mix, match, and change things. So on top of that, we've got like, we now, of course, have things like our inventory system is now working, which wasn't in before. We have now our full hat system and everything is looking okay. Or not hat system, our full inventory system is working and clicking and everything's getting equipped and working on the characters. All that stuff that you basically like need to have happening. You need to lay the groundwork for, I should say, before you really start getting into like the meat of the game, which is all that kind of fun stuff that I get to step in and do, like the QOL and all that, the fun stuff I can't wait to have in the game. So see, now we switch to a sword. We now have entirely different animation sets. We have different move sets. We have wider things.
Drinky time.
Our hitboxes, by the way, are currently boxes, but we are setting up the system to where our hitbox can be pixel perfect. So where you see that white is where the hit detection is. So we're going to be doing some fun stuff with that. Right now it is boxes, but the eventual plan is we're setting up the foundation system so we can do that later. So we can basically like sketch out what weapon styles look like, and then that will filter into the hitbox system, which will be cool. So on top of that, the customization system will have all sorts of fun things you can do. So, I could go over to the helmet. I'll just, randomly. Well, first of all, going to, sure, let me exit out of here, take that off so I have a helmet. The customization system, by the way, will probably have like a wardrobe or something that you will build into your creative building area. We'll talk about that in a minute, and go from there. So you can kind of like pull this up, you know, just find, I don't know, some random head item, some, I don't know, some random thing there. Just kind of, again, just totally random. Not that that's anything. And so yeah, so coming over to our system, this is again where we're kind of working on the AI, the pathing, which is really important. We want to make sure that our enemies path properly and they get to our players as they need to. Another thing we're really working on is states of AI when you're fighting things. So like this goblin, for instance. So if you come over to the goblin, you know, you're attacking it, he's attacking you, things are going off. Now, when he gets low enough, he's going to get worried. He's worried right now. He's like, this guy's kind of kicking my ass. I don't know if I want to do this. So see, if I try to get close to him, he's going to back up. Maybe if he's got some friends around, he's going to go get him. But no, man, he's not feeling this fight. He's not feeling this fight. So what's going to happen if I run up and hit him? Oh, no, man. No. All of a sudden, he's really not feeling this. He's like, no, I'm out of here. No, screw this. No, I'm done. I'm out of here. And what he's going to do now is he is in help state. So what he is going to do is he is going to, in his mind, go, okay, my health is low. Is there a healer nearby? My health is low. Is there an item I can run and get and use? My health is low. Is there an enemy I can run and get to help me? And then he's going to stand behind that guy while he runs up and fights me because he's low health. So stuff like that. And here's what's really cool about this system we're putting together. What you're looking at is the way that this guy works. But we're going to be able to do all sorts of things with each mob. So maybe one mob, when he hits 30% health, he gets super mad and charges you. Maybe another mob, when he gets to 20% health, he enrages and does 100% damage, but takes 50% more. So we can do all sorts of fun things with that and really kind of like make enemies more unique as we have this kind of like staged health kind of AI reaction system, which is going to be fun. On top of that, you know, we've got all this stuff going as well, which has been great. And all this has been looking good. This guy, wow, this guy's going to just walk over and punch me in the face, apparently. One second. And yes, for those wondering in chat, there's no sound in the Coliseum. The sound system is not plugged into to this particular system. So as we keep going through here, let me make sure I haven't missed any too big things here. Okay. All right, good. I think we're looking good. All right, so as we move into the final section here, so now we've kind of talked a lot about where the game was. We've talked about where the game is, which is kind of that stage where we're getting all the foundational elements in. A good example to give you guys an idea about what we're doing in terms of timing is we're anticipating about 3 to 4 more months to get all of our foundational working ready for production systems into the final demo that you saw at the beginning. So basically we're in the process of rebuilding that demo you saw at the beginning with all the new animation systems, all the new AI systems, all the new inventory systems, all that stuff. We're hoping that'll be done around in a few months. And then at that point, that's when the production starts in earnest. That's when the basement of your house is complete and you can start really in earnest doing the rest of it, which is good. I do want to point out before we go to the next section, we're about halfway through the presentation. I do want to say that if you're enjoying what you're watching, the absolute best way to support this project is wish listing this game. That is the best thing you can do. You cannot buy this right now. We are not doing a Kickstarter. There's no monetary donation of any kind. We're not asking for that. If you like what you see, the best thing you can do is wish list the product on Steam. If you go to cohh.tv/Emberville, cohh.tv/Emberville, and if the mods can make sure this links properly, we're going to link that right to the Steam page. So again, cohh.tv/Emberville, that will take you right to it. And yeah, we'll switch the links around. If we can switch the Emberville command and stuff around, we're just going to make it real easy. So cohh.tv/Emberville goes right to the Steam page. Right now, you can find it just on Steam if you search for it. Okay. Anyway, so we've talked about where the game is. We've talked about where it came from. Now, real quick, before we talk about where we're going, I do want to kind of give one little glimpse into what this game really is. Particularly, there's 4 big things we're trying to do with this game. And what that is, I will show you. right here. I'm going to give you a little sneak peek at one of the major progression things here. When you first exit the tutorial, there's a major story event, and that story event starts to lay the groundwork as to what this game is. And you go through that story event, you go through an area we're not quite ready to talk about too much, and then you arrive here. And what this is the dilapidated, destroyed town of Emberville. And this town is the crux of many of our mechanics in this game. This game serves as a progression mechanic. It serves as a customization mechanic. You will be rebuilding all of these houses. You will be finding people to put in them. You will be meeting these people. You will be getting to know these people. You will be doing quests for these people. And you will be getting new skills, new items, new functionality, new mechanics by rebuilding this city. And that is this is the not your home base, but the home base of the game. So what is that little purple thing following you? I guess you'll have to tune in next update when we start talking about what that little thing is. Is there fishing? There absolutely is. So the four main areas, the four biggest things about this game, and I'll hint at one part of it, but we're not going to get into it too much. First of all, there's the combat. We wanted there to be a meaningful, deep combat system. We do have a randomized and handcrafted loot system. There will be RNG loot farming in this game. There will also be unique handcrafted items that you can find in this game. So it is going to be a hybrid system, but that means that there will be lots and lots of opportunities for farming, for trying to build those perfect items, for finding the perfect item that fits your perfect class build that may work perfect in one build but not the other. So it's that kind of thing. But yeah, it's going to be big. So the first big thing is the combat. The combat is going to be a core system, and we're shooting for having it be one of the most developed combat systems we've seen in a game of this style. Second, creativity. We're not going to get too much into this, but there is another section of the game that is not the town that will allow for creative building in this game. And we're talking about passive resource generation. We're talking about crafting engines. We're talking about item storage. We're talking about animal management. We're talking about that's the part of the game we're not really showing during this, but there is a section of this game where you will have your creative building aspect will be satiated. and that is a part of the game. So that with the other game. The third major part of the game is the town. And like I mentioned earlier, this town will not only turn from what it is now into, hopefully, if you play the game all the way through, into a thriving hamlet, but also there will be progression mechanics. There will be visual progression mechanics. There will be some customization that you do and how it looks and functions. There will be NPCs to meet, quests to do, choices to make, all sorts of fun things. That's going to be the town. And the last big thing about this game, we're going to talk about when we get into the next section of our presentation here today. And that section is the state of the game. So, first of all, I do want to take a second before we continue and dive into this to just say how much I want to thank and appreciate the fans of this game so far. Our Discord has been phenomenal. The amount of people that have been spreading the word and hyping and just being a part of this has been incredible. The team at Cygnus Cross and Bryn have been remarkable. I am so amazingly pleased with how all of this is working out, and everyone on the team is committed to making this game awesome, and it's been so cool seeing this going. So on that note, if you please, let's in a nice little visual form kind of talk about everything we've talked about today. And we'll also, when we get to it, we'll talk about that fourth pillar that I was talking about here. So first of all, state of the game, because a lot of you guys are asking the question in chat, the very good question of, okay, Cohh, we saw you fight through the tutorial. We heard you talk about a creative building section in a town, but what do we do in the game? Like, where do we fight? We'll talk about that. All right, here we go. So going down our first little presentation, let's talk about some of the improvements that we've seen. So you can see, like, when we started, before I got here, left and right. That was it. Immediately started working into the new, like all 4 directions, much more animated, much more alive. Same with the animations. Old animation, they were thinking of like not having weapons visually shown, and that way it would be a lot easier and could save resources. Nope, every single weapon's getting shown. Every single weapon's getting custom animations. We're doing it right, and we have found some phenomenal animators that are churning out like weapon sets a day of high quality, awesome animations that are just doing fantastic. Customization. We talked a little bit about this before. Customization is a big part about our game. We want people to want to like the way they look. I have played phenomenal games that have made me look ridiculous for large portions of them, and there's no effect that affects your enjoyment. It doesn't matter if you don't care how it looks. If you look ridiculous, if you don't like the way you look, it does something to you. So we are big about customization. Most importantly, we want you to be able to look the way you do. We want you to earn the awesome looks. So you aren't going to be able to look however you want at the beginning, but as you play through the game, as you unlock more things, as you get more drops, you will be able to really customize how you look and make that work. This is a great little video here that kind of goes over a lot of the improvements that we've been doing and kind of making on the back end. Kind of shows you not only where we are, but a lot of ways what it took to get there. And also I want to briefly talk about what you're looking at here. What you're looking at, and for the record, this will be available for you to look at after this. So if you are looking at the presentation behind me right now and going, man, I'd like to look at that in more detail, we will make this available to you later. But one of the things you're seeing in there is a lot of stuff you don't normally see in these presentations, which is the behind the scenes stuff. How did we get from point A to point B? How did all that happen? And this is stuff that we're going to be talking about throughout the development. If we run into any major tech hurdles in any of our systems, I'll probably talk about it on stream and how we fixed it. Things like that. So Bryn, the studio lead especially, is like, one of the big things he's doing is he likes to approach game dev from an educational angle as well. So he doesn't only want to make Emberville, but he also wants to help fundamentally encourage not only current day game devs, but the next generation of game devs. He's very big into that. So one of the things he wants to do with this project is really kind of like bring more people into the umbrella of what this stuff really is. So it's really fun. Coming down here, again, more reactive AI behaviors. I showed you this in the Coliseum, but this is the kind of stuff that we want to make, that we really want to have it, that immersion in our game be more apparent through things like our AI system. So, you know, it's a big deal if you're attacking something and it just stands there and swings at you until it's dead. It's an entirely different thing when you're fighting something and he has 2 to 6 different states that he moves through as you're fighting him. That feels totally different. And when you're having different entire state sets in different biomes and different enemies and different enemy types, like that's the kind of thing where you really start fingerprinting the experience, which is really important. Skill systems and our modular skill system. You can see through the combat down there how this is kind of working here. This is another big thing. One of the things about Emberville that is very important to us is that and there's a word for this that is very kind of amorphous, but I do think it fits, and that's playability. How does the game feel to play? Is it taut? Does it feel taut, like tiger taut? Or is it kind of loose and floaty and it doesn't feel good? We're big about making this game feel crisp. The combat is going to be fun. It's going to be entertaining. The character is going to do exactly what you want when you want him to. And it's going to be the kind of thing where we want you to die in this game a lot, especially on the bosses. But when you die, we want you to go, dang, I should have avoided that move. I should have known he was going to attack on that side. I should have read the telegraph. We don't want you to die and be like, oh, that was so cheap. We want you to die and be like, man, that was totally my fault. That was really hard. And now I want to go back and do better. The same feel you get in a Souls-like. We want to bring that feeling into our bosses and our harder stuff. So we're going for it. Animation system, another great thing that we've been working on tons for the last 6 months. And again, the big thing with these systems is not so much what's here. The big thing about these systems is they're being opened up for future delivery. So like all of these foundational systems, like this animation system, for instance, it is now allowing us to connect and change animations in a way that our previous system just didn't allow. This one is going to let us like flow animations together, make it so we can just drop them in and everything connects easily. And like our previous one just didn't do this. But now that this is in, now that we've done all the work to make this work, now we can just focus on all that fun stuff, which is, again, why you haven't heard anything from us for the last like half year is because we've been radio silent trying to get all this stuff done. And now we're getting to the point where it's like we are going to start making all this awesome stuff, and we can start talking to you like we are right now. It's very exciting. Is Cohh a dev or a promoter? Both. I wear many hats these days, but for this project, I'm the executive producer and the promoter. So I do both. Now, this is our fourth pillar. I introduce you to the Vitromotus. Now, I'm not going to get too much into what this is in terms of a lore perspective, but this map on the right is very much a early rendition of what your map might look like at the end of our game. What is the Vitromotus? The Vitromotus is a procedurally generated world that the player can move through to basically explore their entire. And I need to be so careful here because the Vitromotus is a very unique thing, and there's some very cool lore stuff with it, and I have to be careful because I don't want to. Let's talk about the mechanics of this system. What the Vitromotus is essentially a gigantic dungeon with respawning elements that is different for all players. It is procedural. It combines mechanics from things like Path of Exile's Delve, the world and biome generation of games like Subnautica, and it basically makes it so the player moves around this map, which is going to be unique to them. Each one of these nodes is not only procedurally made, but what is inside of it is also procedural. So, for instance, let's say this is Biome 1 on the inside, which is procedural. Well, Biome 1 is going to have anywhere between 15 and 25 nodes. And in those nodes, one of them has to have a specific story event. Another one has to have a specific RNG event. But for the rest of the nodes, it's going to be totally random. It's going to be procedural what they look like, random what's inside of them. And Biome 1 might have 30 different RNG events that can occur. And for every single node, there is a chance that one of them might happen. No one is going to see all the RNG events in one playthrough. So every time this dungeon runs, every one of these biomes can have all of their own unique RNG events, and then those get randomly distributed and added to the game. And this way, if you play a second time, you may see events you never saw. So it's the kind of situation where we want this to feel like your own run. Somebody said I don't get it. So a better way to explain it a little bit is if your playthrough could only have 5 RNG events in your first biome, it's going to pull your 5 playthroughs events through a list of 20. So what that means is the next time you play the game, your 5 events, you may not have seen a single one of them. You might have seen one of them before, maybe, RNG, maybe 2. But you also may have not seen a single one of those events before. And when I say RNG events, I mean you enter a zone and there's 2 people fighting over an apple. And you need to figure out what's going on. You enter another zone. There was clearly a battle that happened here. You can look around the battlefield and see what happened and try to figure out the situation. You enter another battlefield and there's a wagon and he's selling some really unique rare loot that you've never seen before. So stuff like that. It's kind of like regional RNG. Each one of these little blocks is a play zone. So whenever you move into one of these regions and you enter it, you then enter a play zone very similar to what you would see at the beginning of the old demo, for instance. So you would enter a play zone, and your play zone would be like this, procedurally generated for your playthrough, possibly have an RNG event in it. It would be of the biome tile set that you're in. All the enemies would be of your tile zone, that kind of thing. So it's that situation. And every one of these little dots, every one of the hundreds of little dots on this map is one of those play zones. And then to go through the biomes, you have to do like certain things or accomplish certain quests or things like that. And very similar to like a Subnautica experience, the story and the world move through your ability to make your way into the different biomes. And then biomes will have tiers of equipment. They'll have looting and different things. Funny enough, very similar to No Rest for the Wicked, where, you know, there's going to be like different nodes in the biomes that you can run through, and you can harvest things of different tiers depending if you have the right resources and skills to do so, that kind of thing. So Wookie says, are some events more rare than others? Wookie, not only will some events be more rare than others, but we are planning on putting some events in the game that literally a handful of players will see. I've already okayed that with the devs. I was like, I literally want to make events that 15 of our players will see. They'll be that rare. And they were like, really? And I was like, yeah, you don't have to spend a lot of time on them. I just want there to be super, super, super rare events. And they were like, okay, we can do that. I was like, awesome. so we're going to have things like that in the game for sure. But anyway, let's keep going. This, by the way, again, is the fourth big thing about our game. So we've got the deep, awesome, customizable looting and crafting system and combat system. We've got the creative building, crafting, and storage area. We've got the giant progressional town with quest NPCs, relationships, and all of that fun stuff. I don't mean relationships as in romance, by the way. That is, we're not sure if that's in scope yet. Full disclosure. There will be a ton of unique NPCs in town. You will be doing quests for them. It will unlock functionality and all of that. All that's in scope, but we're not quite sure what we're going to do with romance and stuff. But again, the game's going to come out in early access, and we're going to have a 2 to 3 year development cycle. So just saying, if you demand it, will we really have a choice? Will we? I mean, if you demand it, will we have a choice? I don't think so. So I'm going to leave this one up to you. This is going to be up to you. Yep. Anyway, moving on. And then, of course, after the progression of the town and everything, our last big pillar is our huge procedural world, which will differ per playthrough, and that is the Vitromotus. Now, on top of that, I do want to point out that we are still there is one global aspect of the Vitromotus that we are still nailing down that will have a relatively large impact on the gameplay loop, and I'm many developers probably would not even say what I'm saying right now, but again, we're involving you in this process, so we're going to talk to you guys about it, and we'll let you guys know. So I'm going to talk to you about it. One of the interesting things about our game is the fact that we're doing this RNG world. Now, right now, all of our lore and everything is tied to that being the world. There's a whole lot of reasons it exists. There's a reason it's there. There's a reason you're working through it. It all works, and our lore is pretty awesome. Another thing that I was sold on about this game. But one thing we're trying to figure out is there's some very unique systems and things that we can do if we were to disconnect the Vitromotus world from the player. And what I mean by that is, imagine a remnant style system where you could have multiple versions of the Vitromotus's world in parallel. And that is something where it's kind of like, that is an interesting idea. Like that. So you could have your one character re-roll the world. So you could search for all those different RNG events if you wanted to, kind of thing. And there are lore reasons that could work, but there's also lore reasons it's not. So that's one of the questions that we're kind of we're still nailing down exactly how that's going to work. Right now, it doesn't do that. Could we make it do that? We could. Would it take resources? Absolutely. Is it worth it? That's what we're talking about. So we're kind of figuring out. Are you guys saying like Terraria? Well, no. Yeah, kind of like Terraria. The idea is kind of like Terraria. So you would have your character's home world, and then you would have like this. And Terraria is probably not the best way to say it. A better way to say it is Remnant. Remnant is the best way to say it. Like in Remnant, you go up to the crystal and you have all those different worlds you can go into. But yeah, okay, anyway, we're going to stop this here because this is not one of the streams that we're talking about this stuff. However, that was a little brief sneak peek at a future game design stream, which we are going to be doing about this, where we do just talk about different things that can be in the game. And that's going to be a future stream. But anyway, that is the Vitromotus. As of now, it is a single giant procedural dungeon, one which is tied to your single character in all of its one world. That's how it is now. It might stay that way forever. We will see, and we'll talk about that later. But I will say, even in its current state, it's awesome. Even in its current state, it's amazing. And again, I can't wait for you guys to see it. Also, going on in the background, for those that have been watching, this is a lot of really cool stuff on how they made this system. And it was, and a lot of this stuff took over the course of weeks and months. So very, very cool stuff here. Everything was built from the ground up for the game. Also, of course, we've been working hard on animations. You can see like some of these animations in some cases have 3 times the frames. They look similar, but at the same time, it's the little things, man. It's the little things. We make all of our animations like this tight, and the whole game feels completely different as if they looked like this. So this is the stuff that we're going to have for early access. This is the quality level we're shooting for. Literally 16 times the detail. Anyway, coming down to the environmental detail. This is something kind of cool. Now, when I walked through the village scene that you saw just a little bit ago, this is what I walked through. This is what you saw. You can see that a lot of it, the ground texture is pretty flat. There's a lot of repeating textures. This is what I walked through. And you guys were like, oh, that looks cool. Yeah, that's what it was. This is what it's going to look like. As you can see, totally different feel. So what we're going to be ending up with is much, much, much more organic, lived in, far less repetition, far less reused assets. So that this is where we're going to be going. When you play EA, you're going to be looking like this. This is what your environment's going to look like in EA. So we have some incredible artists working on that right now, and they're doing phenomenal work. We also have a light system that's coming in. It's going to be great considering there is a day-night cycle in the game. And so you will see the very cool lighting effects kind of take advantage of that as it happens. Also, our boss animations are frankly, they're freaking incredible. Like, we're only showing you the early ones now, but when you see this stuff, like with that model, I mean, I can't even, it looks so good. It looks so good. We're talking like quadruple A quality animations in pixel art. Little character evolution. Thought this was kind of fun. I joined right here, but as you can see, this game has been going through many iterations as it's gone. And frankly, our most current one, our latest one, fantastic. Coming down here, you can see some of the buildings. Now, obviously, when we walk through the town, nothing even looked close to this. So you're going to have a lot of work in our game to get it to that point, because eventually the entire town can have buildings that look kind of like these. It'll take you a while. I hope you're ready. And then, of course, we've got our very cool pipeline here. You can see as this happens. It starts as an idea, gets to the concept art, start making some concept art around it, maybe doing some like light little animated elements, and then all of a sudden we end with a super cool looking boss. You can see right here. Just look at that animation of it coming out. Freaking awesome. Just awesome. Oh, and then of course you got to have your enemy animations. And your enemy animations have to be from all the different sides, facing different directions. Your attacks need to connect. Your animations have to connect. So when you're, what happens if he dies while he's swinging? Well, you got to think about that. So all sorts of different things, different biome animations, all sorts of crazy stuff. And then to finally have our animations, check these out. This is one of our bosses here. I mean, again, just how smooth it is. It looks so good. All the little hitbox stuff coming with the slice on the weapon, which would be great. This guy's got a bajillion animations. Here's just one of them for you, though. So, yeah. And here's some of the pixel art sets that we're kind of working through. This is an evolution. So we started like super basic, made some color palette choices, made a few more choices, and now we're looking kind of like, this is kind of more indicative of what we're looking at these days, right here. Pretty awesome. UI, of course, has been making some great motions. You did not see any of our most recent AIs in any of our stuff. Our most recent AI is looking really nice. Right down here. This is what our AI is looking like currently. We are still, of course, we're trying to leave it very open because we're still figuring out exactly how some of these systems are going to work. So we can't really make a presentation until we know exactly what we need to present. But yeah, coming along great. Looking great. UI, I'm sorry, UI. I keep saying AI. UI, that UI thing. Yeah, this is our UI. We already talked about our AI. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this presentation today. That is where we are on Emberville. It is coming along incredibly nicely.
Applause, please.
I just want to end this by saying, it's been such a pleasure working with this team. This game is making phenomenal progress. I meet at least weekly with the team, and every time I do, they have a laundry list of new things to show me. We then talk about everything we've seen, talk about everything we're going to do. We plan the next week, and that's been going on for months now. And man, I tell you, the more I see about this game, the more I can't wait for it to get into your hands. So we talk a lot about game dev on this channel, and a lot of the stuff we talk about is in different ways getting poured into this game. Somebody also asked another question, and I do want to reiterate this as well. A lot of folks said, Cohh, when this game gets in early access, is it going to have all of your awesome like UI and QOL and all that stuff in it? The answer is absolutely not. No. When this game gets into early access, what I'm going to do is exactly like I did with many of the games that I do. I'm going to fire this game up on stream. I'm going to play through early access, and we're going to just rip it apart. Exactly like we always do. And we're going to talk about all the ways it can be better. What's not good about it? Why is it going to be better? What needs to change? And then you know what the best part about all that is? Everything we talk about, we're going to get done over the next few months. And then we're going to play it again. And we're going to talk about what sucks and what's good and what needs to change and what's better. And then we're going to come up with a list of things to fix. And then we're going to wait 3 more months. And we're going to do it again. We're going to keep doing that until this game is awesome. So that's our plan. And it's going to be great. So yeah, very excited to see where this is going to go. And this was supposed to be 15 minutes. It's now been 45. And I really do hope you join us for this journey. It's going to be a lot of fun. Final thing I'm going to say before we go here. If you want to play this game, if you want to help us make this game, please search for Emberville on Steam or go to cohh.tv/Emberville and click that wish list button. We are not accepting pre-orders. There's no place to give us money. The only thing we want is for your possibly right index finger to click that wishlisted button on Emberville. And that's it. And thank you for those that do. We really do appreciate it. For those that don't know, wishlisting makes a huge deal for indie devs. If you ever like any indie dev and what they're doing, please wishlist their game, as it's huge. And thank you, Navigational, going way above and beyond. Really appreciate that, dude. So yeah, it's awesome. And thank you to those that do. We recently just almost got to, I think as of before this video was recorded, we're just about at 60,000 wish lists, which is incredible. So thank you to everyone who's been doing that. Pretty awesome. All right, friends, I will see you guys in just a little bit. I'm out of here for now. If you would like to see more about Emberville, please make sure you are following me here on YouTube. You will find a lot more here. Of course, if you follow me on Twitch as well, I'm over at twitch.tv/CohhCarnage. We will give you guys as much notice as possible before we do the dev streams and the state of the game update streams and all these types of things. You're going to be hearing a lot about this project over the next few years as we go into early access, we continue developing it, and we bring you along for this journey. So I very much hope you join us for it. We'll see you next time. Thanks for being here. Have a great day. Now go wishlist Emberville. Bye-bye.